ready? I am not, clearly. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of the Station Break podcast. I am your host, Cassidy Quinn. We're shooting this at KGW News in Portland, Oregon, and every Friday we give you a behind-the-scenes look at somebody involved in TV news. Today, we have our first producer on the podcast, Travis Worsowicz.
Yep.
I just asked you how to say your name, but I'm still tentative about it.
No worries.
You are a producer of which shows at KGW?
I do the 10 p.m. show typically, and a lot of our sports projects. I do our Sports Sunday show, but like just about any producer here, I've filled in on just about every single show here.
Yeah, I know. You did some Live at Sevens with us when they hadn't figured out who was going to produce that show. Have you done the early mornings too?
Yep, I have done the, when I do that, I've typically filled in on the 4:30, but during my first week, I boothed from 4:30 straight through 7 a.m., so did all that.
Which shift do you prefer?
I definitely like the night side shift, my 10 p.m. shift. I'm a bit of a night owl, and it just works best.
Yeah, I know. I like being able to sleep in a little. This is the beginning of your shift. It's the same with Joe last week. I'm just forcing everyone. As soon as you get to work, time to do the podcast.
Yeah.
Whereas when I recorded them with the morning people, it was the opposite. It was like, oh, you're done with all of your work. Now I get to talk to you.
Please stay up.
So what do you actually do as a producer? I mean, people know, even I've worked with you. I work with producers every day, but I don't necessarily know what they do for 8 hours of the day.
No worries. So as a producer, you're basically in charge of putting together your show. So the 10 p.m. show is the show I put together. That's choosing the order of the stories, which stories go in. We have the story meeting, which you're familiar with, where everybody discusses, and as a producer, you make your opinion felt. Hey, I think this is a good story to cover. I think this should be our lead. I think this is a good B-block, cheery story to talk. This is a good talker. You put all these stories together, and just about anything that's not written by a reporter is written by the producer. So I'm writing probably 70 to 80% of the content that you see on air on any given night. Maybe I'm being generous. Maybe I don't know. I write a lot.
Yeah.
And then you choose how it's presented too. Do you want to show this story with a graphic? Do you think video of this works best? Do you think the helicopter video is better than the ground video? Is the ground video better than the helicopter video? It's all these like little decisions that you probably don't pick up on, but like you gotta be a little bit of neurotic to produce.
Yeah. How do you make those decisions? Which video is better or which story to put in where?
I mean, the frustrating / great thing about our job is that it's a very subjective business. I will think something looks good that somebody else won't, and it's all subjective. I mean, here I feel like our weather coverage, we do a lot of pictures first. That's kind of been the motto I've been told. We'd rather get to the images of the damage, whereas I've worked other places where, hey, I'd rather hear from our meteorologist first. I want to know what's actually happening, what's coming next. It's all a matter of opinion. I don't know that one's better or worse. I have certain things I happen to like. I've had disagreements here. We've had discussions. I think any healthy business has that, and you eventually come to a consensus, a middle ground, or whatever. When it's just me, there is a certain aspect of you are the producer, your boss. If somebody else speaks up, though, like, I'll listen. I think anybody give and take, and you can be persuaded in any direction.
And then you have an executive producer, right, that oversees all of the night shows?
Yes. So Wiley Post is our executive producer here, or our nightside executive producer. So he is my boss, and so I'll bounce ideas off of him and vice versa. And every once in a while, I mean, there are little things that are decisions where, hey, man, I like this order of stories, and he'll change it up in his show because he also does our 11 p.m. show. So unless it's a monumental thing, he's pretty easygoing and lets me do what I like. Because again, it's very subjective. He'll do stuff, he'll present stories in different ways. Do you want a full package on that, which is like a 2-minute piece, or do you want to cut that down to a 45-second video VO bite? So it really just depends, and he's been pretty easygoing with me and allowed me a lot of freedom to kind of grow as a producer here.
As a producer, how long did it take you to learn all of the things like VO bite, VO whatever, all those? Still sometimes I hear things I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Is that hard to remember?
It just depends. Like, truthfully, it was so long ago that I learned a lot of these terms that I couldn't.
You are very old.
Yes, so old.
Very.
As we're like two of the youngest people at the station.
Yeah, if you're watching or if you're listening to this, not looking at the video, Travis is not old at all.
Yeah,
Just for
I
the
am
record.
26 if we want to get specific. But I mean, I learned a lot of this in college, so I don't know that I could give a proper timeline on it. But a lot of it, again, with how I'm saying it's all subjective, a lot of the terminology changes too of is it a SOT, is it a byte, is it a sound on tape, like is it a lower third, is it an L3, is it a graphic, a chroma, like there's so many different terminology points in any station you work at. And it's almost like relearning like an NFL or any playbook. And maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration to compare us to NFL players. But like the different terminology always fascinates me. And luckily I came from a Tegna station, which is our ownership company. So a lot of the things like when I came here, ENPS, which is our program that means nothing to most people listening.
Do you know what it stands for?
Everything.
Something
No.
news, something system, I don't know.
Yeah. Electric news production system? I don't know.
Sure.
That's a guess. I
like electric news. We should just have a show called that. Sorry, anyways.
There you go. But yeah, so I mean, a lot of that I've learned, and you're still picking up new things. I think one of the great things I like about our job too is that it's kind of a giant brainstorm every day, and you try new things, and you see something. I mean, everybody's stealing from everybody. You see something on SportsCenter, and you're like, oh man, I wonder how we could do that. And you may not do the exact same thing, and then you twist it a little, and somebody sees that, and they're like, oh, I want to take that and twist it a bit. All of a sudden you have something completely different that started from here and turns out wonderful or horrible.
You never know
Yeah.
until it goes on the air. What kind of random jobs did you have growing up before you got into TV news?
So, my biggest job that everybody loves to berate me about, I worked at a sandwich shop in college named Witch. So when you were like, oh, Worsowicz, like sandwich, definitely had the nickname in college of Worsowicz because I worked at a sandwich shop for about 3 years.
Did you see that coming though? Like you had when you're thinking, I'm gonna go work at Witch, and when I tell people how to, I mean, I didn't know you worked at a sandwich shop, but a minute ago when I asked you how to pronounce your name, I said, oh, like sandwich.
Yeah. Definitely the jokes were, I don't want to say predictable, but to not see them coming would have been extremely naive. That being said, Witch was definitely not my first dream job. I was like, oh, I need money and I need food and I can get a free sandwich and make some money in college being broke. So it worked out.
That is excellent. Did you ever get fired from any job?
I don't believe I have.
Oh.
I'm trying to think, but I've worked mainly in TV, and I've never been fired from that, and Witch was really my only other real job. Yeah, no, I'm sorry.
No, that's good. It's funny
way.
because I used to think, well, when I don't think I've ever been fired that I know, knock on wood.
Yeah.
But until now, no, just kidding. Hopefully
This
not.
podcast from Cassidy's basement.
Yeah, hey, we could do it.
Yeah.
Just need a microphone, maybe not as fancy of a camera. I don't think I've ever been fired, but the first few podcasts, everyone had a story of being fired.
Really?
And then since then, it's become a trend of everybody says they have never been fired. So
50-50.
yeah, I know. It's fun to learn though.
Yeah.
How did you decide you wanted to be a TV news producer, or maybe just work in news first?
So when I was in high school, I was like a lost soul. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my life or anything, but I really liked sports. I played sports, but I am not talented enough to play sports even collegiately. I'm a very average athlete at best, but I liked talking about sports. I liked going to games. I liked watching games, and I was like, oh, journalism, more or less, through one medium or another, is talking about sports. So that's actually what I wanted to be a sports writer, writing columns and whatnot. And then I got to college and kind of started dabbling with TV editing. And I really liked actually the editing aspect of like going out and shooting your own video, putting it all together. And for a while I wanted to be a like sports reporter, kind of like you are with everything else, but primarily sports based. And more or less I've just found ways to keep talking about sports for a living. And then I got into news. The thing is, sports, you get into college and you realize sports is one, very thin slice of this giant pizza pie of all the types of journalism there are. There's entertainment, politics, weather, freaking money, news, all those encompass a newscast, a news. And it's all interesting to me. Like, that was it was cool to be able to learn about all this different stuff. I mean, more or less, our job every day is to go out, you learn something new. Like, literally that cliche, you learn something new every day. That is our job. If you don't learn something new, you've kind of failed for the day.
Yeah. And if you haven't taught somebody watching something new too, even if it could be something super serious or something, I don't know, tomorrow I'm going to the cat show, you know? Learn something about a cat called the werewolf cat. Actually, that'll be today when this podcast comes out. So.
I don't even know what a werewolf cat is, so I will be learning something new.
Exactly. We learn really important, hard-hitting facts, you know? During a newscast, are you in the control room?
Yes. So I am in the control room, and if everything goes as planned, so basically being a producer comes down to two very different aspects. It's controlled chaos, if you will. All day you're building this perfect show that's going to be so awesome, and you're going to hit everything just right, and then you get into the booth and things start going wrong. It's just kind of part of the job. You expect it, you want it to go perfect, but how many times do you have a perfect day, you know? You step in a puddle and you're like, ah, crap, I gotta dry my sock out, you know? And so in the booth, you're dealing with all those problems. If a live shot can't go up, you need to have a backup plan. So you have your A plan, but then you have like plans B through Z. And hopefully you don't get to Z, but you do sometimes. That's it.
What is that like? It seems like a lot of pressure to be, you know, as things happen, fixing, and are you talking to people on the phone? And
yeah, I mean, so you have like your headset on, and I don't know if we can show pictures, but there's like a million buttons in the booth, and you can talk to a million different people because you have 8 crews out live, and then you have people here in the newsroom that you need to communicate with, that you're getting the newest details on stories. And ideally, and honestly, here at KGW, it's kind of refreshing of more in smaller markets, you learn with a lot of people let you down and your reporters fail on a regular basis.
Oh, no.
And yeah.
There's a reporter, we're being photobombed.
Mike Benner never fails.
Always failing. No, just
number
kidding.
1 in my heart. That big bald head.
Better listen to this so he hears that.
Yeah. But so here, everybody's kind of got their act together, and your backup plan, you may get to like C on a bad day, but typically it all goes according to plan. That's
good. What happens if at the last minute, you know, you're going on air at 10 o'clock and at 6:55, or 6:55, that made no sense, 9:55, some kind of breaking news happens, like this week, you know, at the wildlife refuge, somebody gets shot and all of a sudden everything, what do you do? Yeah, I mean, you kind of throw it out the window. Your original plan goes out the window to some degree, and you just got to improvise. I mean, you got to be a quick thinker. Luckily, we have a good team here where you just try to present that story as quickly and in the best way you can. With a big story like that, you're going to break it off the top. And unfortunately, you have 5 minutes in your scenario to write up that story with the best information you have, the best context you can give it, and give that to people because it's important. Luckily, we have a great team where I can talk to Wiley, my executive producer, as you said, if I'm going back to the 10 o'clock and, oh no, there's a missing hiker out in the gorge, which is relatively common, unfortunately, here. We've had that a few times, and hey, can you create a map for me and write this up? And different people have different jobs where you'd be amazed it's not as simple as just writing it and putting it on. It's, hey, you need to talk to your director to code that so that it actually looks right on air. You need somebody to build the map. You need to write the story itself. So that's just 3 jobs that on a given day you could technically do one person, but then it's going to take a lot longer. So you get everybody working on a team, and then you get it up right away. Excellent. Sounds very complicated, but impressive. You also work at a radio station in town, right? So tell me about that. So I work at 750 The Game. The Bald-Faced Truth is the show I work on with John Canzano, who's a local columnist, works on our Sports Sunday program as well, and hosts his radio show. And so I am a producer there as well. So from about 10 or 11 until 2 p.m., I am there working on the show. And then I come over here from 2:30 to 10:30, 11 here and work on the show here. So that's where I stole you away from today. Yeah. I'm sorry, John Canzano. What made you want to do both mediums?
More or less, I mean, as I said at the get-go, I always wanted to just talk about sports for a living. And I listen to a lot of podcasts. It's kind of, because wherever you're walking, whatever you're doing, you can listen to stuff. That's kind of an effortless task. You need to park yourself in front of a screen, at least, to watch TV. You need to have a reading device of some sort to read, but you can just throw on some headphones and listen to stuff. So I've always listened to a lot of podcasts, and one day I just went up to him, I go, hey man, could I intern for you? I'd really just like to see how it works. I'm really familiar with TV. I've done TV for a few years now, but I really don't know anything about radio. And he said, yeah, you can come in, check it out. And then things the ball got rolling, and it was just right place, right time, where his producers were leaving to host their own show. He needed some producers. He was familiar with me as somebody he had worked with here on Sports Sunday, and said, hey, would you like a role here? And it worked out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I also do radio too in the same building, so It's funny that, who knows, all these TV people. Yeah. It's just fun to talk sometimes. Do you ever want to be the one talking on the radio or on TV?
So I do actually talk on Canzano's show on occasion.
Oh, okay.
Very rarely. As a producer, it's just he'll bounce ideas off of us. Mm-hmm. But I am still kind of a wandering soul. I don't know. I don't have a dream job where I'm this is where I want to get to, and this is what I see myself doing in 20 years. So I'll never say never, but it's not I'm dying to do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, radio and TV could not exist in its current form in 20 years.
Yeah.
So who knows? There could be all kinds of things. You are a Swiss citizen. Totally different note, by the way. How? Why? What?
So my mom is a Swiss citizen. Her parents were born in Switzerland, or at least her dad. I actually think my grandma was born here in the U.S., but is also a Swiss citizen. And you pass it along to your kids. I believe my kids will be Swiss citizens, and when you turn 18, you got to fill out some paperwork to be hey, still want to be Swiss, and they accept you.
That's amazing. So you have both?
Yes.
Citizenship?
Dual citizenship.
Does that make it easier if you wanted to go work in some random country?
I think it might make it easier if I wanted to go work in Switzerland. I don't know about anywhere else.
Are they a Commonwealth country? No.
I don't know.
I don't know. This is just showing,
really plugged into my ancestry.
What we don't know. No, I just always wish I had dual citizenship somewhere else so that you could just makes things so much easier. I went to London, ended up volunteering at the Olympics in 2012 because I couldn't get paid. Legally, they said unless I had a grandparent or that was from the UK or I married someone. They're you want to, you got 2 months, you could get married to someone in the UK. I'm great, thank you.
No pressure.
I'll get right on that. Another fun fact, a few weeks ago, was the big Powerball lottery.
Yep.
You somehow, whether it was by your own choice or not, became the creator, the leader of our office pool.
Yes.
How did that happen?
You could say I like gambling. I don't know. I like pool. I don't know. I wouldn't say I have a gambling problem or anything, but I think
first sign is always denial, Travis.
Right. I feel like games like that are fun, and so it started I wanted to get in on it. I would have played on my own, but I like getting friends and groups of people in together. I consider myself a fairly inclusive person. So it started out as we were in the night meeting, and we were hey, you guys want to do this Powerball thing? We all throw in $5-10, and we agreed on it. And it was supposed to be this night side only thing, which is a really dumb thing in a business where people get paid to talk for a living and talk to each other. We are a very chatty bunch, a very gossipy bunch, and so what started as 10 people, then you're talking, and you're oh yeah, Travis started this pool for us, and so people come up, hey, can I get in on that? And all of a sudden it ballooned from 10 people to 50. And
yep, I got in on it, and that's actually the video of it is on my YouTube channel of when Mike Gallimanis, one of our photographers, he looked at me and I just started recording. He's Travis is trying to do this secret pool. The Nightside team, they're just trying to leave out the rest of us, and they're going to win all this money, and they're not going to show up to work tomorrow, but we're going to be here doing their jobs.
Yep.
We didn't win.
We did not.
But we did get, how much?
We collectively won $19, which came to 38 cents a person before or after taxes. I don't remember. Well, and then I reinvested that, and we lost. So.
Well, it was fun for a time. It was a bonding experience. Yeah. And I think we won more money than we would have if just the Nightside people
debatable.
We also lost more money collectively.
I had some people complaining that once it got too big, they're like, oh, I don't want to split my $1.5 billion with 49 other people. I was cool splitting it with 10 others. And I was like, really? Like, this is
I know,
the thing?
this is the point. You're going to go from having 0 million to a few.
Yeah.
I mean, I think you're doing okay. You also speak Japanese.
Yes, that is true.
Why? That does not relate to being Swiss.
Yeah. It does not. I am a smorgasbord of culture. Grew up in Eugene, Oregon, and fun fact, they have 3 immersion schools there, a Spanish, a French, and a Japanese immersion school. So when I was in elementary school, my parents enrolled me in the Japanese immersion school. And more or less their logic was, we know people who speak Spanish and French. We do not know a single person who speaks Japanese, so let's try it out.
You can be the one.
Yeah.
How does an immersion school work? They only teach you in Japanese?
So half the day was taught in Japanese, and like exclusively in Japanese, and half the day in English. And how
old were you when you started this?
Kindergarten, so 6 years old, I think. 6 through like 12 years old.
Do you just go there on the first day and you have no idea what's going on?
Yeah, it was pretty hardcore.
Sounds terrifying.
I remember like our kindergarten teacher, Miyoko Sensei, was nicknamed like the dragon because she was like a kind of angry woman, is what we'd always joke. And like she really was a sweet woman looking back, and like took care of a bunch of like 6-year-olds. So you can't really be an angry woman and teach kindergarten. But
but it could make you an angry woman after teaching of 6-year-olds.
Touche.
Who don't know what you're talking about.
But we went in, learned our Japanese ABCs, our Japanese 1 through 10s, and or A, I, U, E, O. That's like the equivalent of ABCD in Japanese. And,
wow. Yep. That's cool. My brother actually took Japanese in high school, and he would, as a prank, always turn my computer, the language, to Japanese so that I couldn't get it back. It's like, you're just preventing me of doing my homework. And you think it's funny, but I can't read anything. I would like to know, this is very random, where your profile picture on Twitter was taken, because you look very happy. You've got 2 thumbs up.
Oh, yeah.
And I like it.
I always feel goofy, too, because I don't know about you, but when I see stuff on Twitter, I always picture them saying it with, like, the face that they're making. And I'm like, I feel kind of terrible, though, because sometimes I tweet out, like, breaking, 3 people dead, and there's, like, a picture of me doing this. And, I probably should change it, honestly. But actually, it's not as exciting a story as you might think. I got a new camera for Black Friday like 2 years ago. And it was like my first time taking it out with people. And I was like, yeah, let's take a bunch of pictures. And we were just handing it around. Somebody took a picture of me. So I was like stoked. I was like, yeah, new camera.
I like it. Has that been the profile picture since then?
Just about.
That is a good one. Lately on Facebook, I've seen you post lots of like hiking pictures. Do you do lots of hiking and wildernessy things?
I dabble. I wish I hiked more than I do, but I do. It was weird. I did like the year in review, and like 9 of my 12 pictures were hiking and outdoors. So I lived in Knoxville, Tennessee before here, and hiked in like the Great Smoky Mountains on a regular basis. And then came back to Portland, and I was like, oh man, I'm really gonna miss like the outdoors and the Smokies. And then I was like, oh wait, Portland is freaking gorgeous. And I've like hiked in the gorge a few times and always down, but I've just been kind of lame lately, but I need to get back out.
It's hard. You have so much free time with your 2 jobs and everything. Like, how do you not go hiking every day? Just kidding. Joe Becker, who is sports reporter, anchor, whichever we call him, at KGW. You work with him a lot. He told me you like hip-hop music.
I do like hip-hop music, yes.
Who's your favorite hip-hop artist?
Or a
couple, I don't
No,
want to
that's
make you
cool.
pick your favorite
I
child.
definitely like 90s rap. That's like the overall genre. The weird hip-hop artist, if I'm being honest, that almost nobody's ever heard of, I like a random Canadian rapper named Classified, who like nobody knows. He's not big at all, but that's a random artist that I enjoy. And then I like classic Dre, Biggie, Tupac, Jay-Z. I really do like the 90s era rap. And I know I don't look like somebody who would, but that's just the music I am into.
Why not? Don't judge a book by its cover.
No worries.
Or if people are just listening to the audio version, which you can find on iTunes and SoundCloud, by the way, if I didn't already mention it. They have no idea what you could be a 70-year-old, like 8-foot tall man.
That is me after a storied career in the NBA.
Yeah.
I'm just reflecting on my life now.
Very, very old. Okay, now we're going to take some questions from the social media sphere.
Yes.
Which, by the way, I think when I tweeted out the first time asking for questions from you, it got like the most likes on Twitter that anybody has got on the podcast, so you're very popular.
I feel so vindicated.
Basically. Chris in the Gorge, or at Jacques Chris,
yes.
Very fancy, international, said, what kind of crazy hours do you work? You touched on that, but how many important events do you miss out on?
Not to get super depressing, but...
I know, sorry, that was a sad one. I don't know why I put that one first.
But I think you can vouch for it. It is kind of the trade-off of journalism. Like, I really like what we do on any given day. We do crazy, cool stories, but you have to work all the holidays. You have to work weird hours, as you said, where if I'm on the morning show, then I'm too tired to go out sometimes. So I don't know that I could quantify the events I've missed, but there's definitely been a lot of Christmases I've worked, a lot of Thanksgivings. 4th of July is always a bummer because it's like usually really nice weather out and everybody's going nuts. But then it's kind of cool because you may be missing so-called important events, but like you've been in the newsroom, your newsroom becomes kind of a family in those times, and you get really close, and you bring in a bunch of food for 4th of July. You're going to have hot dogs and hamburgers, and yeah, you're working, but it's usually a more laid-back day. You're still putting on a newscast, but half the stuff in your newscast is like, look at these people partying and having fun, even if I couldn't be there. So it's just different.
Yeah. You're living vicariously.
Yes.
Did you work Christmas and New Year's this year?
So as I say that I've missed a lot of events, weirdly enough, this year I lucked into I didn't work either of those holidays.
No, that's good.
Yes.
That's good. Did you request them off, or did they? Some people, it's funny because everyone's shifts are so different. It's just like, oh, well, Christmas was on a Thursday, and Thursday is my day off, so this year I got Christmas.
And that's what happened. I think Christmas and New Year's fell on a Friday, and so I'm Friday, Saturday are my days off, and so that just naturally worked out for me.
Oh, so while we're recording this is your Friday.
Yes, it is.
It's Thursday. Happy Friday.
Thank you.
Still got one more day, but I didn't work on Monday, so I can't complain at all.
There you go.
Next question, Nate Hansen from our digital team. Is he over there? Nope, he's not there right now. He said if you had one word to describe Joe Becker, our sports guy we were just talking about, what would it be?
I think I would go with goofy. He is just like a ball of fun. You could also go with just fun, but like he is chuckling. He makes me chuckle anytime. Like seriously, one of the most positive, nice people I've ever had the pleasure of knowing, and I love just chatting with him. And like he cracks me up. Just he says the most random stuff. Loves bacon. Like. The other day, one of our other producers the other day was like, "Hey Joe, did you know that like bacon is a carcinogen and you can get cancer?" And he's like, "I'll take it." Like he's just down. He's just a funny dude.
Yeah. What is that Sports Sunday? Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Sports Sunday show. What's that? How's that different than the other newscasts when you work on those?
So Sports Sunday is more or less a show entirely devoted to sports. So not even more or less. I would say more. Other than we briefly did like a weird news segment in our hour-long Sports Sunday. But it's really fun. You get a lot more time because typically on a Monday through Friday, sports is only going to get 2 to 3 minutes of content in any given show. And almost every story gets like 3 minutes is an eternity in a freaking 30-minute show. So that's a lot of time. But when you have a full half hour, you can digest the big games. And then we have John Canzano on there, and we briefly had Joey Harrington on there as well. And they can really flesh it out and discuss it. And I really like when they get heated or when they bring up interesting points that you can't really get to on an average day when you only have 3 minutes and you just need to give the nuts and bolts.
Mm-hmm. I forgot to ask earlier, what are your favorite sports?
I like to watch football the most, probably. Maybe NBA basketball, though. Like, I grew up in Oregon until the Timbers came. The Trailblazers were the only pro team here. And so I grew up liking the Trailblazers, and I like just about everything. I'm not a big baseball fan, honestly, but if it's in person, I'll watch any sport in person. I've been to tennis matches. I got to go to China and actually see like Djokovic and the Bryan brothers and stuff.
Wow.
So there's just cool opportunities.
That's cool. Was that for work or for fun?
It was like this internship program in college where it was called the China Open internship, and you went there for like a week and covered the different tennis matches.
That sounds very cool.
Got to interview Maria Sharapova. It was cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never been to China. That sounds Very interesting.
It was cool. It got smoggy though. People couldn't breathe like after the third day because all the smog came in. I was cool with it, but like one girl in our group, like she didn't want to go outside at all because she said she couldn't breathe.
Oh no.
This took a dark turn.
What is she doing these days?
I wish I knew. Living.
Facebook search her. Yes, that's good. Brian Pepoon asked, what are your favorite Biggie lyrics?
Yeah.
Obviously, whatever can be censored, or if it needs to be censored.
That was my thing. I was going to say Notorious Thugs is probably my favorite song by him, but a lot of that could not make air probably. But Juicy is like the classic Biggie. It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and pepper and heavy D up in the limousine. You know.
Yes. I know it, but I don't know all the words.
And if you don't know, now you know. That's Biggie too. See?
That is awesome. Why is his name Biggie Smalls? Do we know?
Because he was a very large man.
But why Smalls?
I don't know the Smalls part.
We don't know. Biggie Smalls, if you're out there listening to the Station Break podcast.
He's dead, but...
Oh, yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I'm sorry. R.I.P. Biggie Smalls.
Yeah. I'm not getting that on anybody else's Station Break, I bet.
No, I think that will be one of my questions forever now is what is your favorite rap lyric, and just see how good people can rap.
There you go.
Steele at Blue Snowy Mountains, he has asked questions on every episode of this podcast, and I always say that, but he actually puts in effort to come up with good questions, because a couple days ago when I tweeted out asking for questions, he's like, I'll think about it. And he found your resume.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Where do you? I don't even know. I was like, wait, how did I not get all this information? Where did he find your resume?
I assume so. I have a website that you can check out. That I actually don't know the website, but I had to make it when I was looking for jobs right out of college.
Worsowicz.com.
Yeah, something like that. And so I think my resume's still up there, and I have random newscasts I've done. So you can peep that if you really want to creep on me.
Do it. I found. Or logged into my website the other day because I was like, okay, it's a new year. I better go update this because it's been a long time. And found my old resumes that were on there. I had an acting one that had plays listed from when I was in middle school through high school.
Yeah.
I was like, I should just hide this page. No one cares about that anymore. I don't think.
You even see your old reel and you're like, oh.
I know.
No, actually, I feel bad. You're like, yeah, I was good then and I'm even better now.
No. Yeah. Well, definitely better now. But it's oh gosh, watch some of these old videos or things on YouTube that are 5 years old.
Nice.
Okay, this is bad. So, Steele had a few questions. First one, I guess on your resume it said you have a skill of speak, read, and write conversational Japanese. Have you been able to use that in a work setting or in a personal setting?
The saddest thing is not for a very long time. Studied abroad in Japan a few different times, actually. Fun fact, actually, I guess I should have told you. I was there for the earthquake. That was a kind of crazy experience. When everything blew up and there was a tsunami and everything.
What was that like?
It was...
You can't just blow past that one.
Yeah, my bad. I realized that you asked me if there were cool things to talk about, and I failed.
No, it came up. It's good.
But it was pretty hardcore. I remember, so I was there, and there's a decent amount of earthquakes in Japan. I think it's close to a fault line. So I remember being on the 4th floor of a building about a week before the big quake happened, and my chair just starts rocking around, and I kind of freaked out, and my teacher at the time was like, "You're such a little baby. We get those all the time."
Oh, jeez.
I was like, "Oh, okay." And then, so a week later, the big one hits, and I was determined to not be scared. So I was alone in my dorm room on the 5th floor, and I'm rolling all over my floor, and then stuff starts breaking and crashing in my bathroom, and I was kind of freaked out. And then I look out the door, and there's straight up trees that are just hitting the ground and going 90 degrees perpendicular, the roots are coming up. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm pretty scared. So I kind of got under my desk, but I didn't really know. That's what I had been told in those videos from a little kid. Didn't really do anything. But I want to be clear, we were in Tokyo, not very close to where the significant damage is. Mm-hmm. Obviously there's trees flipping down and buildings cracked and stuff, but it wasn't whole houses being thrown into the ocean and stuff. Mm-hmm. So all things considered, I was in a relatively safe area. But I freaked out, and then we went. I remember making like a Facebook status just saying, "Oh, my second earthquake was a little more intense than the first one," and then closed my computer, and they evacuated us from our building. And I didn't get back to my computer for like 12 hours.
Oh my gosh.
So then I came back, and I had a million people being like, "Dude, are you alive?" And I felt kind of terrible because I was like, "Oh, man, I kind of made this into a big deal, and now you guys probably think I'm like dying," but I was totally fine where we were. Eventually, though, there was like the nuclear reactor kind of near Tokyo, and they were worried that the radiation was spreading to Tokyo, so they evacuated me back to the U.S. for about 3 months. This all like about a week after the earthquake is when they finally pulled the trigger. My school, University of Missouri at the time, I was the only person studying abroad in Japan at that time, and they went from being like, "Yeah, you're fine, you're fine, you're fine. You're in the radioactive zone. We've bought you a plane ticket. You have 12 hours to get there." And then they evacuated me. Came back to the U.S., but they were really nice because I told them, I was like, "I really do feel fine here. I feel safe here." And a lot of other schools were evacuating their students. Luckily, my school was very nice. They go, "We're buying you a return ticket right now. We hope you can go back in 3 months." Might not even have been that long. It might have been like a month. But I came home to Oregon for a month in late March or mid-March, and then went back out there for like 5 months and just kicked it in Japan. And it was really interesting because like Tokyo is a pretty international city, but right after that, a lot of people were kind of scared to go back. So our dorm was typically an international dorm. It's like a 13-story building, and it was deserted. There were maybe like 20 people living in the whole building. Everybody knew everybody. It was a bunch of Korean students, some people from like Australia and the Netherlands, and I was one of the only Americans because most American schools were like, "Nope, not sending anybody back there."
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well,
Yeah.
if we have the earthquake here, again, knocking
Yes.
on wood, you can be the one to lead us.
All right.
What were we talking about before we started talking about that?
If I've used Japanese
yeah.
as a skill,
Yeah.
which I like, that's the sad thing. So got done with college, actually got dual degrees in journalism and international studies with an East Asian emphasis, which is a mouthful in and of itself. But then I moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, where there is not a huge Japanese culture.
No?
What?
What?
No, I know. Like, I still remember I had some Korean neighbors briefly, and we came home at like 2 a.m. one time, and they were smoking cigarettes on our balcony, and I started speaking to them in Japanese, and my roommate was like, "What? Like, I've never heard you say that." And then we had a conversation, but the sad thing is this was like 3 years ago, and that's the last time I used my Japanese, really. But I am hoping, like, now that I'm back in Portland with a pretty large Asian population, that I can find clubs and stuff to be a part of again.
Yeah, there's probably like a meetup group or something.
Yeah.
And so, like, none of your family speaks Japanese, right?
No.
Going off of that, do you have any Japanese restaurant recommendations in Portland?
Sadly, I do not. I feel bad. I want to, and if anybody has them, I'm taking suggestions.
Do you like Japanese food? Sushi?
Yeah, I really like it. I guess I've been to a couple sushi spots here, and they're all good, but their names are evading me right now, so...
That's okay. I think, yeah, most sushi places here are good, at least that I've been to.
There's a good one on 23rd, but I feel bad that I don't know its name. I'm like, it's right next to Salt and Straw.
Oh, Bamboo.
Yeah,
Bamboo
there you go.
Sushi.
See?
We did a segment at the new one that opened up in Southwest.
Nice.
A few weeks ago. Yeah. Oh, now I really want
Yeah.
sushi. Is the sushi in Tokyo way better than sushi here?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. We went to like the largest sushi market, Tsukiji, and it's like this harbor in Tokyo that's the best sushi kind of anywhere in the world. And we got stuff for like $30 that they say would cost like $300 anywhere else.
Holy moly.
And it was like straight, because you see them taking these like massive tuna out that are like 100-pound fish, and then you go to these restaurants and they chop it up and you eat it right there, and it like, there's the term melt in your mouth, and this was one of the only times I've ever had something that really felt like it melted in my mouth.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds so amazing. I mean, I had like a lame lunch. I really just want some sushi now.
There you go.
Okay, no, earlier you said you do not have like a dream job.
Yes.
Or know what you want to do in like 20 years. But if you could pick one thing, like one person's job in the whole world right now that you'd say, oh, I would like to do that. Maybe.
See, that's the, like, I feel bad. I don't know. And I like it, but I hate it. I actually always ask people what their dream job is because I'm hoping I'll find inspiration. There's just countless cool jobs. For me, I guess the dream, because I'm a big sports guy, for me it's more, I would like to go to the Olympics and cover it. That would be my favorite sporting event. And I don't know what capacity I would cover it in. I don't know that I would like produce live Olympics coverage or just even produce a show from the Olympics. Go and blog about it. I don't know, but I think it would be cool to be at the Olympics. That's my favorite event I would want to see. I like the international aspect of it. I mean, I have a fairly international background. I like sports, and it's one of the only events we claim that our football team, when it wins the Super Bowl, is the world champions. We claim our baseball team is the world champion. But it's like, how do you know there's not a bunch of great guys in another place? Usain Bolt can say he's the fastest man on the planet.
Yep.
Michael Phelps can say he's the best swimmer on the planet. And that's one of the only opportunities you ever get to prove that and see that.
Yeah, it's crazy. The Olympics are such an amazing thing.
And you've been.
Well, it's all like one of the things I love about it is that there's, and I want to go back again.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but everyone is so proud of their country.
Yeah.
Like so often, even in America, like on 4th of July, we're like, yeah, like I'll wear this flag shirt that's ugly and like these striped pants and blue shirt or whatever. But every other day of the year, we're like, complaining about this person in government or complaining about healthcare or complaining about whatever. Like we're not like super. I don't think a lot of people are like, yes, America outwardly. But then you go to the Olympics and everyone is just like, whatever country you're from, you're literally wearing a flag as a shawl, like as a cape, or you're chanting USA or Australia, whatever it is. And it's like, but also everyone gets along. It's not like I'm American and you're Canadian, like we don't like each other, goodbye. It's like, no, this is like friendly competition, I think, which I like. It's good to see people proud of their country, And I was going to ask this earlier, but then Steele, Blue Snowy Mountains, added it to his questions, so I left it for here. Do you have any good, bad, or ugly stories from behind the scenes? Times when things went wrong, things went good?
I definitely do. I'm trying to think of the best one. Yeah, I remember my most frustrating moment in the control room in Knoxville. And it may not make sense for non-TV people or anything, but as I discussed earlier, when you produce a show, you more or less build your show. You spend the first 7.5 hours building your show, and the last half hour or hour, however long the show is the time that show is on air, and you need to have a backup plan. Well, they pegged me to booth a show that another woman had built, and it was this live road show for high school football. It was the first high school football game of the season, and they sent me in there, and basically everything that could go wrong went wrong, and I didn't have any backup plans because it was not, I'll be with her for the first 7 hours building it. It was you come in like a half hour beforehand, she'll hand off to you and be like, hey, you're good to go. And the caveat was, they go, hey, she'll have her cell phone, like you'll be on the phone with her the whole time. And for whatever reason, they had not tested this phone connection ahead of time. And what we found out was her cell phone, anytime she went, so it was an entirely live broadcast. So most of the time we're doing a broadcast from here in the studio. You can run out to your anchors if need be to talk to them. They were in a high school like 100 miles away, and there's a live production truck there. And anytime they walked into this live production truck, the cell phone cut out. Like for whatever reason, it lost. So we couldn't really communicate with them as we had been instructed. And it was the only time I was like, well, I've lost my cool other times, but it was the worst time I've lost my cool. And there were some unpleasant things said. And the worst part, to like shed some comedy on this, is I had actually asked my friend, we had an intern at the time, this like poor like 20-year-old girl, sweetest girl I've ever met. I go, hey, can you come run teleprompter? Your job doesn't really matter because nobody's actually seeing it because they're all out in the field, but we need it for closed captioning purposes. And she sat right next to me running teleprompter for a show that just went terrible. And afterward, I still remember her just being like, you look like you need a hug. And I'm like, It was like so sweet, and the worst part is like I'm not a very touchy-feely person. I was like, I appreciate the sentiment, but nah.
Get away from me.
I just need my like space right now.
Oh my gosh, that's like I'm like sweating. I'm just getting stressed out from that. Joe Becker told me that you are the coolest guy. That's what he said. That's a quote. And that you somehow, even when things are stressful, you stay very calm and collected. Is that something you've perfected over the years?
I don't know about perfected. I do think that's an important part of being a producer. Like I said, I mean, you need to have backup plans B through Z. Reporters, you have your story, and your job is kind of to make that story go on air. And my job is to help you make that story go on air. But there are times where things that are outside of your control happen, where especially technological problems are some of the biggest of all of a sudden, look, we're out there and we don't have a signal and we can't get it. And that's not anybody's fault, but as a producer, the show must go on. Like, again, I feel like I'm full of cliches, but it must.
Literally, yeah.
And so I find that if you're running around town being like, oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, that doesn't help anybody. That just raises everybody else's stress and makes things worse. So you kind of, it's not something I actively like work on per se, but I just told the story of how I lost my cool that one time. And I think at the end of it, you need to take that, reflect on it, and go, look, I let things get away from me. Because more or less, you control it, and when you let it out of your hands, then it becomes this whole bag of things that can go to hell.
And it doesn't really help when you... Yeah. Like last night, we had that happen. Our cable, everything was working for one show. Then an hour later, we go set up somewhere else, and we're about 10 minutes from going live, and the cable didn't work. Cable that worked an hour ago did not work. And my photographer's running around like chicken with his head cut off trying to figure out. Even another photographer showed up to try to help with new equipment. And I was just standing there. And one of the PR people, this is at the auto show, came up and they were like, how are you so calm? And I was like, well, I wish I could stress out and help them, but I can't. Like, I'm totally useless, so I'm just going to stand here. And if we make it on TV, great.
Exactly.
If we don't, I couldn't do anything.
Well, because that's the thing, like, I don't know, we've all been stressed, and when you're stressed, if somebody else near you is berating you or constantly asking you, hey, when's it going to be ready? When's it going to be ready?
Yeah.
You know, like, that just frustrates you more. And then you're not thinking about how to fix this, how to do the job. You start thinking about, what do I tell them? How do I respond to them? And it just can create this snowball that can go very, very badly.
Yes. So we're controlling the snowballs. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you a few would you rather questions that I have come up with. So the first one, both great options for you. Would you rather never be able to talk about sports again, or never be able to listen to hip-hop music? Never again. Dun, dun, dun.
I am racking my brain right now. I did not see this coming.
Blindsided.
I feel completely blindsided. Oh, man. That is a solid question. Kind of depressing, but solid nonetheless.
I'm here to cheer you up, you know?
Yes, like a morgue. Anyways.
I've never been called that before.
Yeah, that got dark. I'm sorry. It's just so hard. So the sports. Am I giving up just sport? Like, am I living in a world with no sports? Or is it... like, sports exist, I just can't be a part of them in any way, shape, or form.
I think it might be better if sports just didn't exist and they were no longer a thing, but I think they exist. You just can't... Yeah, they don't exist for you.
See, because of that, I think by the slimmest of margins, I would give up listening to hip-hop.
Sorry, Biggie.
Yeah. He's just turning over in his grave right now because of my decision to
I know, we've said he's
hip-hop.
listening. We know that.
But the thing is, I like other music, so I can listen. Like, honestly, I enjoy country music. I even enjoy classical music. I enjoy alt rock. I enjoy music. I just happen to listen to hip-hop like 80% of the time. Sports has become like such a part of my life. I mean, I literally work. I mean, to give it up would also be giving up a job, 2 jobs. And so I think I would have to stick with sports.
Okay. You could go work in hip-hop if you needed a job, right? You could produce.
That is my backup to my backup job.
Music producers. Next one. Would you rather 5 minutes before the newscast is supposed to air, everything is gone. Coding, scripts, just everything has disappeared, everything's ruined. Or have to produce a 24-hour newscast for one day all by yourself.
This one's a little easier, though I must say these questions are a little depressing. I thought this was going to be like, yo, would you rather have like a lot of cake or a lot of ice cream? I'm like, just give me both.
Well, what would you choose in that one?
I'm an ice cream guy. I mean, I always was like an ice cream cake guy as a kid when birthday parties, yeah. But, anyways.
So see, okay, we got the fun part in there.
Yeah. I would say that I would produce the 24 hours straight, because like that's a bragging point too. When you do that, it's like, how awesome am I?
You get a letter on your jacket.
24 straight hours. Boom, that could be like a world record. I don't know that it is. It's probably not. But I would tell people it is. Whereas the other thing's just really stressful and really crappy. Yeah. Like, there's no bragging. You're like, man, this just sucks.
It stresses me out just like thinking about it, even though I wouldn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I'm just like, show's gone, cool, I'm gonna go home.
Little do I know, tonight, 5 minutes before my show, everything's gonna disappear. I'm gonna be like, where is Cassidy at?
It was me. I turned the switch. Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I don't even know if this is wood. I keep knocking on it. The last one, we'll try to be a little more positive. I think these are better options for you. Would you rather have to anchor a whole newscast by yourself in Japanese?
Yes.
Or, yes, already. Or, it's better, right? It's better than your show disappearing.
Fun. Yeah.
Or perform a hip hop song, sing it, rap it, whichever you do with it, on, you keep going with that, on The Voice.
Those are interesting.
Or whichever your chosen performing singing show is.
Also, back to our previous conversation, though, I don't speak Japanese very well anymore. I would struggle, though in my hypothetical of this situation, I'm doing it flawlessly, because why not? I'm like Beyonce, woke up like this, flawless. Anyways, I think I go with the hip-hop song performing, though I will be honest, I would suck at that too. I wouldn't be good. But it's that concept of like, oh, this is my shot. Like that silver, you get that high of, oh, what could be? Like my hopes would get creeping up before they just come crashing down. I'm like, oh wait, I do suck at rapping. But it's like, I'm aware of that, and it'd be kind of cool to be like, I was on national TV, I met these like bigwigs in the music industry, and they're still cool people to meet, and that's a cool experience to share.
Yeah, I know. At least like if you did suck, Adam Levine or Pharrell would be telling you suck instead of just like...
It's like, hey, you just confirmed what I thought. But I can say you and I think alike, so great minds.
Or you could be so bad, not on The Voice, but like American Idol, so bad that you get on TV for one of those like really bad...
She bangs.
Yes. So good. What was that guy's name?
I want to say William Hahn?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. I could be wrong. I got a thing for like viral moments.
Wow. What's your favorite viral moment that you've produced or like produced a show about in the last year?
So we actually had a thing in Knoxville. It went pretty viral. I don't know that we showed it on TV, so I feel like it's relatively appropriate enough. We were doing like an Easter show, and for whatever reason we had bunnies in for Easter, and they were like on the anchor desk, and they just started going at it like as you were going to break. And like Knoxville is also like, here you kind of like laugh at it, but Knoxville is a pretty conservative town. And I still remember our morning anchor, Russ, just being like, Russell Bivin just going, they're brother and sister, okay. And like, then we did like a follow-up story where we're like, hey, remember this? We talked to the bunny's owners, and we did like a story being like, check it out.
Are they brother and sister? Yeah. Is this incest? Is that on the internet?
Yeah, it is somewhere on there. If you Google like WBIR bunnies, it'll probably show up pretty quickly.
I am going to go do that as soon as we finish this podcast. And on that note, that is the last question. Do you have any final words of wisdom or not wisdom?
Oh, I did want to say this. I'm sorry that I look disgusting right now to anybody watching.
Don't.
I have not shaved in like 6 days, and Some people can grow facial hair, but I can't. And to those of you like listening, picture like a 13-year-old boy who is like trying to grow in a mustache for the first time, but on my entire face. And you know how you have that dirtiness that like, it's like, oh, that's a cute effort, but like, no, you look bad. That's what my face is doing right now. And so I apologize for that.
Wow, that was a great description. I don't think it's accurate though. I pictured now like 13-year-old boy, just horrible peach fuzz that's just, you're growing facial hair.
I would say I have horrible peach fuzz across my face. Anyways.
Well, on that note, thank you for listening or watching. You can find the video version at kgw.com so you can see Travis's beautiful face and his peach fuzz. Teenager, prepubescent man face. No, it's wonderful face and wonderful facial hair.
This got awkward.
You can find this audio version on iTunes and SoundCloud. Go over there, give us a rating if you feel like it, because you love Travis.
5 stars.
Worsowicz.
Yeah.
5 stars. Yeah, thumbs up, whichever. I don't know.
Cassidy quintuple stars.
Whoa!
Boom.
Except give more than double.
Yeah, my bad.
If you want to suggest someone to be next on the podcast or a question for them, you can tweet me at Cassidy Quinn with the hashtag StationBreakKGW. We'll be back next Friday with somebody else, mystery guest. Maybe with a beard. Maybe not. Maybe who will rap for us. Probably not. I don't think anyone will ever be able to outdo you, Travis. Thank you. We'll see you next week. Yay!
Woo!
That was good.